Hi friends, welcome back to Botanical Woman. I'm Christine, and welcome to the finale of my Hoya collection. I have a total of 66 Hoyas, and today we're going to go over 18 of them. And the first candidate is the Hoya carnosa Krinkle 8. It is called Krinkle 8, I believe, because it has 8 dimples on the leaves. And it does. See? 2, 4, 6, 8. It was living in the propagation box earlier in the year before I discovered the mealybug infestation. And it put out all this new growth, so it is overall pretty happy. I had to transfer it to like most of the other Hoyas that were infected, and it's been kind of just chilling outside the propagation box, not with super high humidity. And I'd say it's doing alright. This is a new leaf, and so is this one. It's probably not going to grow as much as it would if it was living in the propagation box, but I think we're okay with that. I'm looking forward to figuring out how to hang this guy up and maybe potentially cut it back at some point and propagating it some more to make a fuller plant, but it's looking pretty good right now. This is Hoya curtisii. This is one of my first Hoyas. A lot of people have trouble growing this plant, and I am definitely not an expert. It's very sensitive to overwatering, as far as I can tell. I've had this Hoya in and out of the propagation box. It is currently in the propagation box, and there are a lot of new growth coming in, which is great. But a lot of times what will happen, like right now it hasn't because I haven't watered it, but I realize like when I water it, the baby leaves, they turn yellow and drop. But then I also know that it doesn't like being dry, so I find it a little bit finicky to get the moisture level balance correct. It is in its original potting soil that it came with, and it does tend to stay quite moist, so I don't water this one every week. I water this maybe every 2 weeks. And inside the propagation box, I water it even less. So you see, this one's already yellowing. So it grows, it yellows, it falls off, and that's been my relationship with this plant. And I have given it a haircut because I've traded this plant a couple of times. But it hasn't been growing like crazy, but you can see like all these little new stems coming out. So hopefully it'll be happier now that it's in the propagation box, more long term. This is Hoya retusa. It is kind of like linearis in the way that the leaves are very thin but not fuzzy. And I've also noticed the other day it has like little splashes on it. I'd love to know if your retusa has little splashes on it as well, because that's quite interesting. It didn't live in the propagation box for a good 6 months of its life with me. And when the season changed from summer to winter, I feel like it stopped growing for a while, and then a lot of the new growth died. I'm not sure entirely why it happened, because I had it closer to the window, but then I did my reorg and I moved it to just completely artificial lighting, and I think that it was not happy about that. So now I have it in the propagation box, and new growth points are re-emerging again after all the new growth actually turned into a crisp. So that's a good sign. I left this Hoya in its original potting medium, which is peat base. And that really just means that it holds moisture a lot longer. So I don't water this plant once a week. I water it every 2 weeks or so. I just watered it today, and it was pretty much bone dry. When you first bring it home, I recommend you figure out what medium your plant is potted in, because if you're unaware and you think it needs, to be watered once a week, you will end up getting yellow leaves and they'll end up dropping off. So be aware. This Hoya is super cute, and this is just a quick trellis that I made for it. Eventually, I guess it'll outgrow it, and I'll just unclip it and just let it hang down, I think, because it is a very hangy Hoya. Okay, this is Hoya pubicalyx pink silver. I'm not sure if all pink silvers look like this one, but when I first got it, it was super, super splashy and much darker green. But because it's been living underneath my LED lights, I think it's been getting a little too much light, so it's turning a bit more like a lime green. and not as splashy as it used to be. And also in one of the leaves, the splashes kind of turned pink a little bit. So that's what I was trying to achieve, but instead it looked like it's just bleaching the green part instead of increasing the variegation and making the variegation turn pink. And I just realized that I forgot to pop this up. Yeah, it had mealybug problems. So I washed it all out. It's still wet actually. So it's been living in the box. I guess it's okay. It's got some new fuzzy roots. Yeah, I need to pot this up better, but it's not unhappy. Super easy Hoya if you want to start with this. I highly recommend it. This is my Hoya coronaria, and when I did the video to make this trellis, I took it out of its propagation box because this hoop does not fit in the propagation box, and it has not grown since then. I don't know how many months it's been, but it has not grown. It's not dead, it's just hasn't done anything. It's still very beautiful. It still has its pubescent leaves. It has not actually lost any leaves of any kind. It has just been sitting here, chilling, not sure when it's gonna grow. It's a bit dry, so probably water it. I thought I watered it the other day. I don't know. But it ain't doing nothing. This is Hoya limonica, and this was also taken out of its propagation box because of the trellis, and it has finally put out some new leaves. Actually, it had a couple of new leaves and they dropped off. And I'm not sure if it was because it was too wet because I have grit on top of it, but it's growing finally. So this is new, these are new, there's a new growth point over there. Yeah, so right here is where the new leaves dropped off. But it's very pretty. I like how dainty and waxy the leaves are. And it is a bit veiny. So that's exciting. This is Hoya vitellina, and I actually propagated it straight into leca. It has already put out a new growth with a little baby leaf right there. And it has been rooting. You can see the roots on the outside in the glass. So I would say it's pretty happy. I'm not entirely sure which is which, but I think a couple of leaves did fall off of this already. So we're down to 2 leaves and 1 new leaf coming out. So hopefully it'll push out new leaves before the old leaves die. Which one's this? This is vitellinoides. And there's 2 stems in here, but you only see 1 leaf because the other leaf fell off. There are new roots growing, so that's good. I did try to tug at the stem here that has no leaf to see if it would come out, but it seems to be quite rooted in there. So I'm hoping it might survive. I mean, the chances is pretty slim when you only have a stem and no leaf that it will actually push out new growth, but you never know. So we'll just leave it in there and see what happens. This is Hoya verticillata, and this is a combination of the Hoyas that were lost at sea and the Hoya that made it here on time, or the way it would, when it was supposed to get here. And interestingly enough, all these leaves were super yellow when I propagated this, and now they have actually turned more green, because I really thought they were actually all just gonna fall off, because they looked pretty sad when I got them. But it's rooting nicely. I can see roots on the outside. They were in the propagation bags for a while, and they were in need of being potted up. So I'm happy that they're living leca. I can see there's like 1 growth point already about to emerge. How many stems are in here? There's actually 3 stems. So hopefully they'll all grow soon and survive. This is Hoya villosa. This is its new baby leaf, which is not so baby anymore. If you want to see what the baby leaf looked like, I posted some photos on my Instagram account. It is super fuzzy, and it looks like it's growing a new, another leaf right there. I've heard that this is a slow grower, and it surely has been a slow grower. I moved it into leca and it hasn't complained, because normally I feel like if the plant's like super unhappy, like the new growth will normally drop off. And both of these points have been doing okay, so it probably needs a little bit of water, but so far it is lovely. I highly recommend it if you can get it. I tried to root this plant myself, and I would warn that make sure you're using perlite or leca to root this plant, because I feel like the stem is super vulnerable to rot. I did lose my first cutting to the stem just completely, just turning into mush. So hopefully that'll help you. And if you have any questions, obviously ask me in the comments below. And this is Hoya Sunrise. I've had this plant for a while now. It has only just started putting out new growth. I had it all summer and it didn't do anything. It rooted, but that was about it. And now it's finally, how many new stems do I see? 1, 2, 3. 3 new stems. And I see a 4th one coming. Yeah, so I would say it is happy in leca. This was also one of the plants that was in the mealybug devastation. This is Hoya heuschkeliana variegata, the Instagram famous plant. I got this as a cutting from Ted, and I thought there was roots on it, but there was not. This is the second leaf it has dropped off. It's turned yellow. This, I would say, the transition to leca wasn't as good. The roots, I would say, it doesn't have a massive root system either. I don't know what it's doing, but it keeps pushing out new growth. It's gotten 2 new leaves, and now I see a little new leaf there. So I guess that's good, but it is a little bit scary that it's not putting out a lot more roots. So not sure what to do with it, but it's still super beautiful. I hope it survives. Leaf fell off, number 2. This is weird. Is it growing at all? I don't know. Okay. This is Hoya sigillatis. I also got this from Korea at the same time as the Rebecca, and clearly this is what's left of it. It hasn't been doing well. It dropped a lot of leaves. I tried to propagate some and most of them dried out. I think if you get a well-established plant, you have much more success. But I think because I split this with my friend and it was a bit traumatized from the shipping and the splitting, I don't think it's doing that great. Although, you know, I still have these leaves, so that's good. Oh, right, these 2 are actually new growth. And I did repot it recently. So I feel like, you know, with all the trauma, I'm lucky it's still alive. I think this plant also turns red under highlight. I'm pretty sure of it. This is the linearis that I got recently, because the one that I traded for officially died. In my propagation box, I think it was too wet, and this is rooting. I mean, I don't really know what to do with it. I feel like I'm just gonna end up killing it. I don't know. Will it grow like this? It's in moss. I've gotten advice to, like, you know, cut it a little bit and just stick the ends in, but I feel like it's rooting at all the nodes. Okay, this is Hoya rosita, and it has dark margins, which is really cute. I got this through a trade. No, I didn't get it through a trade. I bought this from Etsy. It hasn't done anything for me yet. It has rooted in the propagation bag before I put this in soil, but I haven't seen any new growth. And maybe in another, like, I don't know, month, and if nothing happens, I might switch it to semi-hydro, because the Hoyas seem to like it better that way. And I get to see the root development. This is actually a Hoya macrophylla albo variegata, and I had no idea because I had picked this up at my supermarket and it looked really raggedy because it had like just these stems. It had this leaf did not exist, so it had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bare stems, wasn't doing anything, and it had these 2 leaves at the bottom. But I bought it anyway. I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll do something. And it did. It put out this new leaf, which is, you know, it's fine. But look at these 2 leaves, completely white. That's because it has no chlorophyll. So the reason why this plant looks so, what's the word, plain? No, not bushy, doesn't have any leaves on it. I don't know what the word is. But the reason why it looks like this is because of this guy, this stem. So it's sucking all the energy from the main plant to produce these leaves. And I think I've had 2 of them already. They completely just dropped off after like it became like mature leaves. You can see it on my Instagram. And now it's put out these 2 leaves. I don't think I actually want to get rid of it. I think it's kind of neat. Just whatever. I already have another one, so. And it's now putting out this growth. I mean, it's really struggling to put out new growth, but I think it's really pretty. There's 2 Hoyas, and the first one is Hoya hypolasia, and it has rooted. Actually, it's rooted a lot. Oh, wow. I literally looked at this the other day, and it only had a few roots, and now there's like a lot of roots, so that's nice. It wasn't in the best shape when I got it. It was kind of like the leaf was like a little bit limp and wrinkly, and I did soak it, but now it's like completely bounced back and super stiff. I did read a little bit about this plant the other day, and it said that it was difficult to grow, so I'm gonna be, keeping an eye out on it. This is Hoya waymaniae. It is one of my wish list plants because it actually blushes and turns red under highlight and has dark margins, and the leaf shape is obviously super funky. So I'm looking forward to watching this one grow. I'm not sure if it's rooted. I don't see anything poking out on this side. And it's actually quite deep in the center, so I can see it that easily. The leaves feel firm, so that means it's still doing okay. This one's a little bit soft. I'm not sure if I want to like pull it out and re-soak it. We'll continue to monitor how it's doing. Okay, last but not least, we are closing with this one, and it's rooting nicely. I transferred it into leca after propagating in the perlite. I'm starting to really like this semi-hydro setup. The Hoyas seem to really like it, and it's been really easy. And I haven't really like lost any Hoyas from it. It's doing great. So if you want to try it, I highly recommend it for Hoyas. And that is a wrap. That is all the Hoyas. I think there was 66. There might have been slightly less because I have duplicates because I like to propagate them. But I'm looking forward to the spring because I'm already shopping, or I should say studying certain websites that I want to order from so I can get my Hoya game on for 2020. So if you have any questions or you want to share your Hoyas with me, I would love to connect with you on Instagram. And until next time, happy growing!